Okay, so I know there's going to be some people who are salty. Just, just switch over to the other stream.
Not hard.
Believe me, we tried to delay as much as possible. We were going to miss like the entirety of the draft. We just kept thinking the game's about to end, the game's about to end, the game's about to end. It just kept stretching out. So we gotta cover the other region. We have to switch.
You mean the region, right?
The region. I mean, OpTic versus VGJ.Storm too. It's a really hype way to open up the broadcast too, right? Like,
absolutely.
Easily top 3, both of these teams.
I don't know about easily. Anything can happen. You can get some like complexity.
Okay,
pops out.
Let's put it this like the same way we did with South America, right? Going into this qualifiers, easily top 3,
yes.
right? But qualifiers obviously can change everything.
You want to know something really funny? Last year when DC got eliminated is because we kept opening Dro Wind Ranger. Just like, I wonder if Rezo has like flashbacks.
Before we get too much into the draft, by the way, we are going to be joined by a 4th caster and one that will be doing the casting for the game itself, Mike Loris, doing some remote coverage. I don't know if we can hear him just yet or not. Okay, so he's not with us just yet, but he will be joining to give his insight and, of course, do the play-by-play for the match coming up. But you're talking about this. We got the Drow Wind Ranger opening for Storm, Bloodseeker, Warlock, Clockwork on the other side. But yeah, Drow opening. It's a risky, bold decision, I think is a good way to put it, right, guys?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that.
It's definitely going to enable Wind Ranger, wherever it is. I'm going to presume it's the 4-position off-lane support for now, but it could possibly be a 3-position or even mid lane. OpTic, meanwhile, I think they've opened with something that is a lot more standard. Bloodseeker, especially Warlock. Warlock has seen a lot of play lately. We saw the power of him in the South American qualifiers. I think this is easily one of the best 5 positions out there. And Bloodseeker just seems like a very strong hero right now. A little bit unique in what he offers, but with such a strong laning phase focus that Dota 2 has moved towards, Bloodseeker just looks really strong.
Yeah, it's super hard to zone that hero out as an offlaner, or even like some dual lanes, because you just heal back so quickly. And your damage option late game feels really good. But Clockwork for OpTic. They follow it up with an SF.
They need a good gap closer, right, to be able to threaten Drow Ranger, Wind Ranger.
I'd imagine that's why they take Clock. It's good against both heroes. Like, if you're Drow Ranger, you don't want to go like first item Hurricane Pike or something like that. That really feels ass.
It's important if you're the Clockwork, though, to really sit in the middle of the cogs when you hook Drow Ranger now, because she can actually push you out of your own cogs with Gust. It's really annoying.
Of course, the natural Shadow Fiend Clockwork synergy appears here as well. So CC most likely going to play that Shadow Fiend, comfort heal for him, but on top of that, start now he's going to be looking for pretty good setup so far from OpTic, to say the least. Now Storm, their 4th pick. So again, it falls at you're believing it's going to be a support Wind Ranger. It sounded like, Cap.
Yeah, but I think it's open to anything. I would feel bad if we're opening 1-2 cores, but I think VGJ.Storm very likely that they've already determined themselves that it's going to be 4-position, or if they feel like they might want to run it, it's obviously like not set, right? If it happens to be a good Wind Ranger game, then sure. The SF Clock is a good way to combat the obvious mid advantage that whatever hero it has, it's going to have Drow Ranger aura. So at least you know your own SF is going to be able to match that with the early souls.
Oh, I like that.
So you're both going to have like an absurdly high amount of damage to start, 70, 80 damage at level 1 per hit. So you can actually get some decent CS.
10 seconds. They're going down to the wire here for that 4th pick. You figure they still need some kind of front line.
They have no reserve time?
They're down to 5 seconds right now. I guess you guys can't see it on the screen, but yeah, they're really going down on the wire, and it's going to be a quap. Okay, so Mike Loris, I believe, should be joining us now. Are you there, man? Oh, maybe not.
We can't hear him.
We were told differently. Yeah, so they're still trying to figure that out to have him join us here. But Queen of Pain, now there has been the dabble of course, an off-lane Queen of Pain, as we saw with Serenity's success over in China. It's probably more of a mid Queen of Pain here, though.
I don't know. Can you can definitely beat the hell out of SF with regular Quap, but can you beat Clockwork?
It's not as good anymore. Quap versus SF.
Yeah.
If like all things are equal, because level 3 you can zone her out.
So the cogs basically making things equal.
Yeah, this just like re-equalizes the part of the matchup.
So it's again, it might be possible that they're running co-op offlane. I think double ranged offlane, like dual offlane, would be a great way to threaten Bloodseeker with Draw Ranger Aura. He would feel very oppressed. Even with his own heal and even with the Warlock heal, you might be able to push him out of lane at times. So they even have the possibility of going like aggro if the opportunity opens. So I think there's a lot of way that they could punish this Bloodseeker pickup. And maybe that's where OpTic actually switch over and make this Bloodseeker the sort of 3 position. Like it was sort of like who ran that South American quals?
It was Tavo that played it. It was pain.
It didn't look great, but
hey, it was okay until he went like Vanguard, Yules, and Crimson Guard or something like that. So OpTic need. I mean, they can run 33 on the clockwork. They could also just have Zai play it. They're one of the few teams that really like that clockwork offlane. I think in this game...
FACID vertical line. Ben Pugh said Maelstrom movement to the vertical line.
And there's the Tusk coming out. We'll just ignore what just happened right there. Tusk final pick for VGJ.Storm. So that's actually a very curious final pick, right? Because now this means Wind Ranger will indeed be a core. Will it be an offlane with maybe the Tusk? Will Queen of Pain be there? So these are the questions now with the finish.
I think Quap is better than Wind Ranger made against SF?
I think Wind Ranger's quite nice.
Yeah? Okay.
You can just out-trade him, because nowadays, like, SF, if you step forward too far, you just get, like, hit. I like the Tusk pick, though.
I like the concept of offlaying Quap right now against Bloodseeker, just because the slow will allow you to get so much extra damage on BS when he goes for a right-click.
I don't know. Bloodseeker's nice against both those cores. I guess that you can do the Quap trick, the blink thing.
Yeah. Quap is fine. She can get around Rupture.
Yeah.
Wind Ranger, you have problems. But you're still at least wind running, you know? Like at least
it depends on...
Bloodseeker can't right-click you.
I guess it would depend on where I think what position the clock is. Like I could even see a situation where you would do something like an aggro with your Dro, and then keep like Quap bottom or something, or Wind Ranger bottom.
Quap 1v1 in his own safe lane with Draw Ranger Aura sounds awful. Like you just get Shadow Struck and you have the giant lane that you have to run back and Quap can chase you and get.
It being a Wind Ranger as well.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. They have time.
Yeah, 30 seconds here. What about the concern for Storm, though, that they don't really have that frontliner? I mean, Tusk is great for initiating, sure, but they don't have that one, hero that's going to be able to absorb the damage, be a distraction, perhaps.
Well, the idea here is that you just overwhelm them, because your laning phase should be, like, stupid strong with the heroes that you have, and then hopefully you get off. I mean, that's how all draw strategies work, is that you're hoping that you just dominate the laning phase really hard, then you can just go around the map and go together. And that's why they take the Underlord here, so that because they know that VGJ.Storm's lineup is pretty one note. Like the direction that it wants to go in is just like go and end the game.
I think it's really nice to have a damage soak, which Underlord is, right? He takes a lot of damage away, being able to take away their agility percentage, and I think that he's also a sustain hero, which will buff up Pycat as well as CC and C's cores. You didn't really need an initiating offlaner because you have both Warlock and Clockwork, great team fighting initiators. And then now you have split pushing power as well, which is great because, VGJ.Storm, they're going to try and play relatively grouped. They're going to try really hard to win lanes. They're going to play relatively grouped, and they're just going to shove down towers. And if you can actually simultaneously defend and split push and just kind of slow down the game a bit, OpTic will eventually take this.
So Yawar is playing the Queen of Pain. That Snake King was on the Wind Ranger.
It might be mid Quap.
Yeah.
I think I would aggro in this game.
Yeah. Tusk is a great aggro laner against melee safe lane core. Again, because Ice Shards is just like, you feel so threatened every single time you go for a creep.
Yeah. Hop in game. We should again.
Again, Mike Loris should be joining us shortly, guys.
Audio issues.
Yeah, they are trying to figure out the audio issues still, but as we jump into the game here, here we go.
We'll stick around until
thank you,
Mr. Mike
Don't
Loris.
leave me alone, please.
Mr. Mike Loris shows up. Shout out to him. He's been grinding for a long time now.
Looking forward to hearing him later. Of course, the Shadow Fiend cock trick off the bat. Gonna get those 12 souls. And then work from there. Now, this is the advantage against the Shadow Fiend strategy, though, with the Clockwork, that is. You know that they're going to be doing that most likely, so VGJ.Storm trying to roam into the jungle, get aggressive. maybe find them a little bit late, but as it's positioning, probably not going to be the case.
So I've always thought it's a good little trick to, if you can get an early gank on the SF, because he has those souls and try and take them away, that's fantastic. Unlikely to happen, but we'll see.
If he does die early on, gets that first blood, I mean, is that just going to throw Storm, especially with the Drow strategy, right? That's just going to be a huge lead early on in this game.
It would certainly help the Quap out quite a bit, because if you look at the damage that they're currently looking at between the two, it's like, I think there's like a big, probably 14 damage advantage or something like that for the SF compared to the Quap.
Yeah,
so he does what, 72?
Yeah.
72 damage, and Quap does 63. 62, yeah.
Yeah.
So 10 damage. It's pretty big.
Mm-hmm. And of course that Drow are going to add up as well.
They're aggroing, right?
Well, they got Tusk middle.
I think they're going to, yes. Yeah. And Tusk is going to play just the initial lane.
You absolutely should. But OpTic have read that. So their Underlord is top lane.
You know, Zai's rotating middle, so we're going to see, I don't want to call it classic, but a bit of a 2-2 mid lane.
If you're VGJ.Storm, though, does that really matter too much? Because you can rotate your supports down to bottom lane. You don't have to move your Drow Ranger.
I don't think you really want Underlord. Like, the Drow versus Underlord in the early levels is kind of annoying for Drow.
Okay.
I don't know. Have you played that before? As an Underlord against a Drow?
I've played it, but not 1v1.
I think, like, when you have a disadvantage as Underlord, it really sucks.
Yeah.
When you have, like, a 2-3 level disadvantage, you just get gone on.
First blood. Peter Pan Dam in trouble. One more auto attack. It's not going to be enough. You'll be fine.
At all?
Mike Loris?
We can hear you now.
We can hear him, yeah.
Oh,
awesome. All we had to do was try literally everything.
Welcome to the cast. So obviously you're in the game, I assume, and you're good to go?
Oh, yeah. I've been casting over you guys accidentally because I didn't hear any of you, which is great for all the viewers in Dota TV. I'm sure they love that.
Right on. Well, we'll take over for now. It's your show here.
Oh, that's fantastic, because I just connected as soon as First Blood happened, so I had no idea what happened.
They caught Clockwork in the middle lane. Yeah, it was the Tusk snowballing with Queen of Pain right there. And the Shard Trap, I should say, came out and got the first blood on him. So that's how things started off. It wasn't on the Shadow Fiend at least, so he still has those souls, of course, and the advantage as a result.
I mean, he may have those souls still going up against this Queen of Pain, though, the Shadow Strike damage. And with that damage as well coming out from that Wind Ranger, only +3, like who cares about +3, but I don't really know if they can apply significant enough amounts of pressure towards resolution to therefore kind of hurt Yawar's Queen of Pain and kind of enable his Shadow Fiend. This seems like a pretty risky situation for this mid lane to be in from the OpTic gaming side of things. Although, for right now, Denai's certainly working out in his favor. I assume some of those aren't cogs.
Of course, yeah, you had the 12 initially. Oh, you might be in trouble here.
Just the Shadow Strike and then just walk him down. He's not going to go that far. Going to the raises, takes 2 of them. Pretty big hit, but is going to back off. CCNC is still taking a lot of damage, though, from that dagger. And I mean, he barely survives. He'll chug a salve, and yeah, he'll recover, but then he's kind of just working with those tangos. And you are doing the same, but it's kind of only going to get worse from here on out, especially as the levels pick on up. For the Drow Ranger, level 2 only right now is Brawlfest kind of going on towards the top lane. CS-wise for resolution, it's got 5. I mean, it is kind of difficult last hitting up against an Underlord. Drow attack kind of projectile is absolute garbage. Now trapped in the cogs. They'll try to just fight back against Zai, but they do about 0 damage. And yeah, I mean, resolution maybe enabling his other lanes, but really sacking himself here.
Yeah, I've been noticing, it's interesting too, of course, Zai getting first blood himself, but he was a little bit later to react to the middle lane. They had Tusk initially there on the Radiant side, and then that's where Zai made his move and eventually got killed. Same thing at the top lane. MSS made his way up here, and now Clockwork making his way up to the top as a result. So he's just trying to mirror the Tusk, it feels like, as far as the laning phase goes. Bottom lane, they're going to harass the Witch Doctor a bit, but with Wind Ranger there, of course, you don't want to go too deep, and especially with that Drow. Or we keep going back to, in fact, Drow's now at the bottom lane. So, yeah, clearly, as you were just mentioning there, Mike Loris, it wasn't the most successful farm there for Drow, and they are going to swap things up. They put Wind Ranger top, and this definitely should be for the better. In fact, they're going to go on Underlord, but he's a little too tanky. I don't think you're killing him here.
It might be better for a couple seconds here, but we already see Pycat rotating up towards top lane, following the Wind Ranger. I wonder if 33 is going to keep following Resolution. PPD on the bottom lane definitely can make use of this experience, so this is an absolute godsend for a Warlock. Currently, Underlord, yeah, he's going to go right back down here. It's definitely a much safer situation still, just being on this safe lane, just not as much threat. But SVG kind of getting bodied by PPD. Man, that damage adds up big, and
wow.
Okay, well...
Yeah.
Rolled in towards mid lane, and CCNC just puts him in a body bag.
I caught the tail end of that. That was actually, they were initiating on a Shadow Fiend with, once again, the Snowball Shard combo, but Queen of Pain jumped in, and a double raise combo hit from Shadow Fiend, and eventually dropped her. So, an ambitious decision coming out there from Yawar, and obviously bites him in the ass as he gets responded. That's huge for CCNC, though, because he dies right there again. Those souls you need to recover. He ain't dying, though.
Gotta get those runes. The Wind Ranger is gonna sneak the top Radiant. MSS gonna slide on in, get the top Dire. And then probably will be okay. Pycat's level 3 pretty quick, actually. Power Shot cuts through onto Zai only. MSS putting up the wall, but Pycat is not gonna get bumped back by it. Sneaking, getting in the front with the Wind Run. Giving him a little bit of aid. Now shackled to a tree. Bloodseeker taking tower aggro as well. Great defensive play from Sneaking here. Power Shot through. Again, only connects onto Zai, so they're both really banged up, but it is going to be the Tusk to survive. In fact, everyone to survive.
That was fantastic play from Snake King, as you were mentioning, using that Wind Run to block and actually keep his Tusk teammate alive. Almost even got the turn kill on either target. Both Bloodseeker and Clockwork nearly falling, but not enough, but obviously very well played by Snake King. And he continues to have a decent laning phase, 23-9 right there on CS, you know, has the early phase boots. You know, being more this off-lane Wind Ranger, I do expect he is going to transition, of course, into a bit of a carry, taking advantage of that Drow aura as well. And obviously that's the tempo that Storm's looking for with the early Drow pick.
I've been very impressed with Wind Ranger. I think everyone kind of has been. That's why we've seen her stock rise so much. But like, Wind Ranger is one thing. Wind Ranger with Drow Ranger is definitely another. Like, especially once you get the marksmanship with maxed out precision aura. You focus fire someone, and I mean, I don't care if you're an Underlord. You're going to be feeling it. And it's going to hurt a lot. So the fact that Sneaking is getting what I would say probably close to the perfect start for Wind Ranger is just so bad in any game, let alone this one. And mid lane, they're going to go once again towards CCNC. Kills Yor before he can get to the snowball.
Okay.
MSS is going to piece on out of there, but CCNC is kind of ironclad in this mid lane. Now Resolution over in the bottom lane is kind of trapped, although the cast is going to give him a little bit of help. He'll cut through the trees, still Fatal Bonds, not really connected to anything left. So he should be able to back out of here. Failed attempt onto the Drow Ranger, but I mean, second failed attempt onto the Shadow Fiend.
That was literally a replay of what happened earlier. You mentioned you missed it. Well, you got perfect action right there, Mike Loris, as far as what actually happened the first time. I mean, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That's exactly what that was right there. I know they want to kill the Shadow Fiend, but maybe they want to try something a little bit different than suicide bombing with the Queen of Pain and giving him a hero kill as a result. But I do got to say, Underlord, using his early farm very wisely, I think. You know, you're figuring you're going up against a Drow with the Wind Ranger, of course, the Queen of Pain, heavy right-click damage coming out as a result. He's going the early Vanguard. I'm guessing that's going to transition nicely into the Crimson Guard. I think he needs to rush it. Crimson Guard this game is going to be very powerful for OpTic.
Any sort of armor item that you can get. I mean, Crimson Guard is obviously the go-to. Shackle on top, Sneaking, kind of challenging this gank attempt from PPD, and with the Focus Fire, he's going to run him down. There you go, your plus 10 damage, providing some dividends. He'll TP straight back to the base, and he is A-okay. That's what happens when you get a Wind Ranger with a pretty good start with a Drow Ranger. And again, that's only level 2 precision aura, no marksmanship just yet. So Zai on the bottom lane is completely trapped as well. In the shards, in the cogs, what else can they barricade him with? Not much. Right click, snowball forward with the cast. They'll take down the Clockwork. And 33 can't really do much throughout the Firestorm, but that's about where the Underlord stops being effective at that point.
So, I mean, that's a good kill, of course, for Storm, and he kills nice, but in the meantime, Shadow Fiend continues farming middle. You had Bloodseeker still continuing to do a great job top. So I don't think it's necessarily the greatest kill for VGJ.Storm, and perhaps want to use those resources elsewhere. In fact, they are now wrapping around middle.
It didn't work the first 2 times, but this time it'll definitely work, right? Snowball, they do get some pretty good damage on him. Snowball, small stun there. CCNC, though, turns around with the raise, almost kills off MSS. In fact, does kill him posthumously, but this time Yawar has the Sonic Wave, plus he had a DD rune. Looks like they only needed those 2 things and an additional hero to kill off the Shadow Fiend. I mean, they did get him, but that is not exactly how that was supposed to go. Pycat also did teleport in, though, so a little bit of extra bonus for sneaking on top lane, not having to deal with that Bloodseeker.
Yeah, that's a win for Storm, no doubt. I mean, the third time finally comes through, and you could tell with the execution, Queen of Pain made a very good point not to dive as deep as she had done the previous couple of times before, where she got turned. I mean, losing Tusk there, yes, sucks, but it goes back to you needed to kill that Shadow Feed. If it means sacrificing your Tusk to do so, you definitely are fine with that. So they are going to rotate bottom, though. Zai is still nearby. Doesn't have a hook shot, however, for a bit. He's only 4, not even 4.5, really. Will be spotted, though. This could be dangerous for him.
Shards once again trapping him in the middle of nowhere. 8 seconds till he has a TP, and not really sure if he's going to be able to survive that long. Puts up some cogs, and MSS hot in his tail, still has that snowball. SVG looking for the cask, or Maledict, or just vision for anything. Zai almost getting out to freedom, but not going to happen. The Queen of Pain even shows up for not really much participation, but ensuring the kill on the Clockwork. Big rotation down here, and I mean, they do get the Clockwork kill. That's all well and good, but I think it's really all about making sure this Drow Ranger kind of recovers. And by now, she kind of has. Second place in the net worth, not doing terribly. This bottom lane is definitely treating her much better than top, especially with the support as they look to once again go on top. But I don't know, Vanguard, Underlord, that's a lot of health, man. They're going to start going with the Frost Arrows, gust them back, Maledict, Snowball in with the Frost Arrows. This guy is going anywhere anytime soon. Zai's going to arrive. He'll try to race for MSS. But it's not going to be a race they could actually win. Zai now has Resolution in a corner, racing with the Battery Assault now, got the stick charge. Resolution's just sitting there and battling it out. Will go down, but it'll be a kill trade. Pycat coming in, though, at like 800 movement speed, cleans house on bottom. And ultimately, the Bloodseeker gets exactly what he wants, a whole bunch of soft heroes to kill off.
Exactly. It's another trade for VGJ.Storm where it's like, yes, it's good to get those kills, but... well, at what cost for them? I mean, they lose 3 in return. You have the rotation from Pycat. That's big. And I was very curious what direction Pycat was going to look for his item build this game. Both him and Shadowfiend, for that matter. We're starting to get some answers now. He's going to go the early Blade Mail, which naturally is a great item to have, especially with the early tempo. And then he's choosing to go the Radiance for now. We'll see if he sticks with that, depending how the game picks up. It is a bit greedier, but if he manages to get that Radiance, it definitely will start swaying the way of OpTic Gaming. So I kind of like it for that reason. Now, the Shadow Blade for me on Shadowfiend is a little more curious. I was wondering maybe the Yule's decision, more of that spell damage focus build. Even, hell, a 4-staff the Hurricane Pike wouldn't be a bad option against the Tusk, for example, either. But wants the Shadow Blade to be able to sneak in and set up some kills, speaking of that.
First recipient of the hook from Zai. 1 raise connects, second raise way off the mark. And with the Windrun active, Snaking might actually get out. He is bonded to SVG. I don't think that'll be enough damage to kill off the Wind Ranger, though. SVG can peel back the other way, and he's probably going to go down here. And that will also kill off Snaking. Warlock's a good hero. MSS does snipe Zai, as now here comes Yawar. Blink forward. He does have a Sonic Wave, but challenging CCNC. Sonic Wave will drop him low. This time, no raise combo retaliation. They'll get a double kill for the Tusk. And upon seeing 33, they will decide to back out of here, and they should be fine. TP's out from everyone. It's a clean escape. They lose the Wind Ranger to the Bonds, but they do get the Shadowfiend for it.
Yeah, that fatal bond kill for the double kill for Peter Pan Dam, that was really all Shadowfiend. He nuked the neutral camp there that had the fatal bonds shared to both of those targets, and as a result, it finished them both off. So that was big. But yeah, finally a decent fight for Storm. They do have that 1,000 overall net worth lead, but again, we are talking about a Drow lineup that currently only has 1 tower kill at about 13 minutes. That's ideally by now you'd be working on that second tower or so, maybe even another one. Speaking of that bottom lane, a little bit of pressure, but OpTic definitely continues to do a great job of moving and not easily giving up these towers. They can fight with this lineup, and they're doing so.
Yeah, they have really good kind of tower defense in the way of challenging the enemies in a fight. Like, you have the hook shot, you have the rupture. These cooldowns are really, really low. So one of the great strengths of having a Drow Ranger draft is you have that consistency. You don't really need any one particular ultimate before you can get going. It's not a black hole. It's not a Ravage. But kind of the same thing, like if VGJ.Storm at the drop of a hat can push, OpTic Gaming at the drop of the same hat can defend, because I mean, they have those 2 tools. Not to mention, if the large-scale team fight breaks out, you have that Chaotic Offering, as PPD is level 6. So it's not going to be easy for Storm to take free towers. They have to win a team fight beforehand, and they definitely need to get these items completed if they're going to do that. The Maelstrom on the way for the Wind Ranger. The Lance is now complete on the Drow Ranger. And Queen of Pain, well, she just needs an item. Looks like it's going to be that Veil.
Warlock, he is only level 6. Of course, he does have the chaotic offering, but I'm curious on the decision not to get that 1 point value in upheaval, especially against a lineup that's tending to maybe group up a little bit more, such as the Drow one to push objectives. Potentially could be a strong tool. Not the worst thing in the world, but definitely worth discussion, I feel, as far as decision making.
The Wind Ranger gets flared, so they get vision of her. They do just bulldoze the mid lane, and it is going to be top lane kind of pushed in response here. But it is going to be a jungle fight brewing, it looks like. Into the Shrine, VGJ.Storm probably shouldn't be too excited to go for that one, and they are walking over a lot of dire vision. Pycat, with that Rupture at the ready, is going to find SVG and maybe go for him? Is he going to go for him?
No TP.
I mean, I'm pretty sure this Witch Doctor is screwed, but you never know.
Play just in case. If he death wards right there, wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, so good kill on SVG right there. Speaking of more item decisions now, as we're picking up, getting the 15 minutes in, another curious one to me is the Drow Ranger. We talked about 4 staff maybe for OpTic side could potentially be good. Clockwork's one of those heroes where 4 staff is always something that you're thinking about. Now, eventually, I'm sure we'll finish a Hurricane Pike, but prioritizing a Shadow Blade for now over finishing a Hurricane Pike. I'm having trouble, you know, believing if that's necessarily the best call here.
Yeah, I mean, it is really good for if they are going to start these fights, and outside of Shadow Blade styles of fighting, VGJ.Storm don't really have, I mean, they don't have a Clockwork, right? They don't have a Bloodseeker. They don't really start fights in the most amazing fashion. So they do need kind of something to get in there. And yeah, there are a lot of upsides to having that 4 staff. But at the same time, you're up against Rupture, you're going up against quite a bit of just pure burst, and it doesn't really help you for Fatal Bonds or anything like that, so I can definitely see their need for initiation. Speaking of initiation, you will find the Queen of Pain Cog bump back that looked like it should have, but it just didn't. Okay, so Queen of Pain maybe gets a freebie there. She does escape. The rest of her team coming in from the back there, looking for a courier, which they do get.
Oh.
That was Crimson Guard complete, which is not going to be up here, but at the same time, Queen of Pain is not really fight ready.
We talked about earlier, Crimson Guard, how much value that was going to bring this game. That's actually a pretty big courier snap. That opens up another couple of minutes for VGJ.Storm now to maybe feel more comfortable about pushing these towers. As speaking of that, the mid tower is very low. So Storm, yeah, really needs to make sure to keep on top of these objectives because, again, that Radiance timing is coming for Pycat. And I still feel like if he manages to get that here, that's going to be big.
Well, they'll drop an entire Death Ward on him with the Maledict. That should be enough to put the Bloodseeker in a body bag. Zai comes in as well trying to save. Looks like they're not really tested. No, they're going to turn around and actually challenge Zai with a power shot and some shards. They'll take him down as well.
MSS. Oh my god, that was a huge snowball. SVG able to jump inside, prevent himself from dying against the Bloodseeker, and they get the tower kill on top of that. Big plays from VGJ.Storm right there.
Another 2 kills for the Drow Ranger lineup. And I mean, at this point, 16 minutes in, still only 2 towers taken for the Radiant side. They would much rather have a couple more of those, but and considering all of these other factors that we described earlier, like that's actually not too bad. If they keep getting these towers down and getting these kind of random hero pickoffs here and there, then they will just be able to get these additional items and then kind of start a fight outside the tower defense scenario. And I think that's where VGJ.Storm kind of have the biggest advantage if they're not all grouped up attacking a tower.
Lincoln's on Queen of Pain to follow up the Veil. Great item for this game, of course, naturally against a Rupture in general. And that's actually one of the few single target abilities when you really do look at it on the side of OpTic. So that's going to be a lot of value, and I like the decision there from Queen of Pain.
You don't really need a lot of damage when you're going for the Drow Ranger draft. So ordinarily it's like, you know, maybe you do want to get something that helps you. Okay, I'm not really sure what the Tusk was doing there, but you don't really need to prioritize that like at all. Because how much are you getting right now? Plus 49 on everyone, and Wind Ranger at this point, level 12, can go for that BKB second item, and it's always going to be incredible if you get failed from this early. In this game in particular, like, you're feeling perfectly okay doing that.
Yeah, getting away with that Wind Ranger Drow opening, it feels like, is VGJ.Storm. Just stressing the item decisions makes sense. The BKB next will definitely be a nice tool for her to have to stay alive, and as you're getting out with Drow Aura, you can get away with that a little bit more. Similar to a hero like a Razor, of course, you know, with that static link, and you can get away with building more beefy. Speaking of that, though, Shadow Fiend does have the Shadow Blade finish, just a matter of now working on that BKB, but of course the Courier Death is even delaying that. So we mentioned the Crimson Guard. It seems like the Shadow Blade's also being delayed because the Courier's still dead for OpTic.
And you don't really see it that often, a Courier Snipe that delays such an important item timing. I mean, Underlord still will be extremely beefy, and Courier should be it's actually like up right now, so they are going to be ready to do what they want to do. But in that time, when VGJ.Storm know that there's a pretty low likelihood of OpTic Gaming challenging them, that's a Shadow Blade complete on the Drow Ranger. The Wind Ranger has more than halfway towards her BKB as well, so really stalled up OpTic. It will not stop them from killing off this poor Witch Doctor, who is so screwed. But it's a Witch Doctor. Who cares?
3,200 gold saved up on Bloodseeker, so still a bit of time, and no doubt that Radiant's timing has been a little bit delayed for PyCat. It goes back to, this was a greedy decision. Again, I keep going back to, I still feel once he gets that Radiance, it's going to be very powerful against the side of VGJ.Storm, but it's also not going to be a complete, game ender either. VGJ.Storm will still have a bit of a window. The BKBs that they are going, both on the Drow and the Wind Ranger like we talked about. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Queen of Pain, too, goes for a follow-up BKB here. Seems like it just naturally would be a good fit. And overall, BKBs are just going to be powerful against OpTic Gaming, where OpTic's BKBs, it's like, I think Shadow Fiend, it's understandable why he's getting it, but we're dealing with a lot of physical right clicks, of course, so I don't know how much of a game changer it's going to be. Whoa.
MSS going to push right at the high ground. They lose sneaking elsewhere in the meantime. These cogs are walling off this entire fight. They will take down Zai. Now MSS kind of peeling off to the left here. Gets bled out, and, well, he's kind of bluffing right now, and it looks like it's actually buying him a little bit of space. The Warlock Golem's driving back the rest of the backup. They'll put him in a body bag. And that probably should just be it. Wind Ranger died top to CC&C. Looks like that Shadow Blade, with the Requiem actually worked out.
Yeah, I happened to catch it on camera. I was rambling on there a little bit too much, but he just simply did the whole Requiem right on top, and Wind Ranger exploded right there. So BKB.
Yeah, that, unfortunately. She'll have it soon, though. Yeah, as you said, like, the BKBs on OpTic, it's kind of a half measure. Like, even Queen of Pain, like, at this point, yeah, she still does a lot of magic damage, but you're looking at pure and physical from Sonic Wave and right clicks, so the BKB is definitely going to be a little bit more iffy from the OpTic Gaming side. They're going to go for Roche, and this is something that Drow Ranger drafts tend to do pretty well, take objectives. However, it's all going to be scouted by the Clockwork. He's ready to go in. MSS going to send in a Sigil, perhaps? No, just going to place down some wards, body block, a hook. So Zai still has a clean angle, is going to jump right in, catches everyone, Blood right down on the floor as well. Sneaking, jumping very low, in fact, Blood right will pop them. Roshan is going to get claimed by the Radiant, and they should be fine to disengage, perhaps. They'll catch two in the pit. MSS still trying to body everyone back, but you can't body back PyCat. He jumps right to the back line, and at this point, MSS, he's taking all the damage of the world.
They don't have vision.
Resolution is just chappying in the middle of this fight. It looks like he'll finally start attacking, but just had to get out of there, and Ruar is going to jump right back in. PPD still channeling up that Evil. Ruar is moving at like 0 MS. He's going to blink up to the high ground. Thunder Lizards aren't happy about that. Still in the chase. Ruar throws another dagger. 33 designed to bail everyone out, but it's not. It's a little bit too late because Drow Ranger came back in. Gus back the Shadow Fiend, and they will get out with the Underlord and the SF, but Uar and Resolution surviving through that entire fight. In fact, Uar kind of carrying that fight, doing most of the damage.
Okay, a couple of big keys in that fight. One, no chaotic offering for OpTic. So, of course, naturally, VGJ.Storm, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a bigger reason why they chose to do it. Two, once again, Tusk, aka MSS, coming through an insane shard block on the side of OpTic. Only Clockwork was able to go in, and he was there left in no man's land. He went a little bit too early. Obviously, it backfired. And then, no vision for Resolution. And speaking of that, top lane,
get the Requiem onto the Resolution Drow Ranger. A couple more right clicks. The Gust doesn't save you up against those. Uar's going to jump in, try to make it a 1-for-1. They'll catch Zai again, pushing a little bit too far away, but this time he's got a lot of backup hit onto 2 with the upheaval as well. They are going to blink out with Uar. The Snowball is going to save Tusk for a split second, but it's not enough. They also take down SVG from the Bonds. PyCat is going to Sonic forward and looking for the Queen of Pain. She does still have the Aegis, probably can't catch up to her. OpTic Gaming are able to get a pretty nice fight up on top side, and yeah, the Shadow Blade, Shadow Fiend, just starting things off with a lot of extra movement speed on PyCats definitely makes a difference there.
Speaking of lack of vision, that definitely comes through in the case this time now for OpTic's favor, of course. That Shadow Blade value for CC&C has paid off now a couple of times, one for the solo queen Wind Ranger, one to set up that team fight at the top onto Drow Ranger. And whenever you're running a Drow lineup like this, it's good with the momentum that they had with the Roshan kill, but when it gets stalled like that shortly after, and now the Radiance is indeed finished on Bloodseeker, this is a scary point for VGJ.Storm. I really feel like these next 5 minutes or so are going to be very telling, very determining of how this game may play out in the end. Because VGJ.Storm, not that the window's closing very soon, but again, if you lose another fight like that, all that momentum's going to be lost now.
It is important to note, though, that VGJ.Storm, they now have 1 BKB on the Wind Ranger. they still have the Aegis of the Immortal and the Queen of Pain. If they lost the Aegis from that top fight or whatever, then they would be in really, really dire straits. But because they still have the kind of after effect items from Roche, they still can hit this really devastating push timing. But it is unfortunately going to be into a chaotic offering, so I mean, it kind of requires VGJ.Storm to get a pick off beforehand. You really don't want to use BKBs to get those single target pickoffs if you're a Wind Ranger, but it may just come down to just that. Like they have to kill off, or at least kind of hamper OpTic Gaming in some way, shape, or form. They can't afford to just walk right in.
Gem is something both of these teams would not mind putting value in, I feel like, kind of talking about these last couple of fights. So we'll see if that makes an appearance here in the near future for either OpTic or VGJ.Storm, but would like to perhaps see the investment there. Of course, if anything, make sure you're carrying that dust on you as well. But yet another BKB in the works as PyCat is also going for one now. Clearly proven to be a very popular item in this game for either side, but naturally, as it usually is, so not the most surprising either. Shadow Fiend almost level 20, by the way, too, and we all know about that. That's where he really spikes with that steroid talent.
Yeah, I did not expect a level 20 hero 25 minutes in the game. That is an insane amount of experience gain here from CCNC. Granted, he is rolling in the kills, and he's maybe looking for another one. Shadowblade, unfortunately, not really working out for him there, but yeah, he can just absolutely destroy everyone. And now going for a Scythe of Vice afterwards, I kind of like this from CCNC. I mean, damage-wise, you don't really need a lot to get through this kind of Drow Ranger draft, so you may as well just get that extra control.
This goes back to what I was talking about earlier, too. Again, naturally with the level 20 talent, like we just mentioned, that steroid talent, so he doesn't necessarily need to go more damage, of course. But yeah, the idea of going more of this crowd control style build with that Yules perhaps earlier on, but instead now the Scythe later, let Bloodseeker be your big-time damage dealer as the game evolves, if anything, or the assisted damage, because as we're getting at, Shadow Fiend's still going to be dealing plenty himself. So I actually really like this choice from CCNC, and I feel like we have seen this before on him, a hero that he tends to play every now and then for OpTic, as Blink Dagger for Wind Ranger on the other side to follow up her BKB, which is still 10 seconds, by the way, but more mobility is nice, but still no Force Staff. No Force Staffs against this Clockwork. I still continue to feel like that's an oversight on the Radiant side, honestly. Force Staff is just such good value here.
Kind of replacing, I guess. I mean, Tusk is almost at his... Well, he's not almost at a Blink Dagger, but he's going for a Blink Dagger, so maybe if they can't force out of the cogs, they just kind of commit to staying in the cogs with the Snowball. Rupture... No, that wasn't Rupture. Okay, on the bottom lane. Still has it. But yeah, outside of that, like, you get hit with the cogs. As of right now, there's not much they could really do outside of MSS being in the cogs with you, but that's not exactly an ideal scenario either, so... I do agree with you, like, someone kind of needs to get that response, or they need to enable MSS to be able to get this Blink Dagger at a proper time so that he can defend whoever gets caught in that with that initiation. But so far not happening. They are going to go for the Queen of Pain, kind of just scaring her off, popping her Lincoln Sphere constantly with the Blood Rage.
Yeah.
But other than that, just a lot of positioning. OpTic Gaming are ready to receive VGJ.Storm, and Storm's Aegis has since timed out.
So Queen of Pain choosing to go the Maelstrom. I mentioned the BKB on her as well. It feels like it would also be a very good fit, but again, Maelstrom wants to take advantage of anything of that Drow aura. That on top of the spell Lifesteal talent at level 20, which she also is just around the corner from getting. It does continue to make sense as maybe she wants that. Of course, the eventual Mjolnir even after the BKB probably would be the direction to go. Underlord going to go the Solar Crest. So, yeah, sometimes we'll see the Underlord building from a Crimson into a Pipe, but yeah, this game, it doesn't feel like Pipe is the most necessary to have. I like the idea of the Solar Crest priority instead.
Get that Crimson Guard kind of armor to start, get a little bit more of the Solar Crest Radiance is Team Evasion, so I guess we can call that pseudo armor as well. They're really itemizing to their heart's content. They're going to trap the Queen of Pain, and she does blink a little bit too far in. A couple of raises, and it will be the Queen of Pain to fall. So CCNC pops a BKB, but it looks like the disengage away from that BKB should be pretty clean. Zai gets it with that Death Ward, and the Maledict will do quite a bit of damage. Is that lethal, though?
No.
He will TP out and should... Oh, nice. Okay, well, thought he might be able to make it back to the fountain. I guess not. It's a 1-for-1, but I'm pretty sure VGJ.Storm, they're not ecstatic with the trade. They do pull out that long duration BKB from the Shadow Fiend.
Yeah, it's hard to blame Queen of Pain right there. Yawar, he obviously that was a smoke play from OpTic. He did not expect them to be there. We're just simply going to push out the middle lane. OpTic happened to be in the better position with that smoke, so good catch. CCNC, a slight misplay on his part, I think it's fair to say, using the BKB when clearly Storm was retreating at that point. So, you know, kind of a waste, but it's going to be off cooldown in about 20 seconds. It's down to 8 seconds here.
CCNC is pushing forward. He has Shadow Blade to find someone, in theory, but hit them with that extra bonus damage, immediately scythe them. It's incredibly hard to react to that, even if you do have a BKB. So there's a chance that this Scythe of Ice, okay, no, it's no longer hidden. So they do know 100% that this item is in fact on the SF. But again, how do you actually play around that? It's extremely difficult to do.
There's a lot of just defensive items being built this game, I'm noticing. Even Wind Ranger, I saw she had the Axe queued up. Now she's switching over to the Lincolns. I mean, we talked about Lincolns as great value this game, but that with the BKB. So continuing to just go back to just the Drow aura itself, and that being what this whole team is relying on naturally. Also, Force Staff finally being built by Drow. She is going to finish her Hurricane Pike at this time. So better late than never kind of case. But yeah, the defensive items continuing to come out for Storm. There's the BKB, though, for Pycat, and he's going to be able to freely move around now in these fights.
We've seen with that initial burst from OpTic, hookshot in, land like 1-2 raises. Already you're chunking down some heroes to a pretty significant degree. So Pycat, with that BKB, we're looking at like 500 movement speed at least to start. Once you don't have to worry about spells from, I guess, just Cask and Snowball, Shackle Shot being kind of the big ones, you kind of just are something that VGJ.Storm can't deal with, like, at all. Try to race him, maybe, with damage. I don't think that's really what you want to be doing.
Roshan, 10 more seconds. That's going to be a key, of course. That means the Cheese as well as the Aegis. CCNC, middle lane vision, though.
Yeah, the Sentry just sees him, but again, you can't really react to that, so they will immediately, or almost immediately, take down that Tusk. CCNC now going to channel up that Requiem. Won't really do all that much damage. It will be a 1-for-1 trade so far. Sneaking's going to chop down Zai off to the south end. Now it's onto Resolution. He's going to stand his ground with the BKB, trying to challenge Pycat. Not enough with the Death Ward. Fully channeled Pycat is taking so much right-click damage from everyone, but still he's able to get away. Heals up on the creep wave, and Noir's a little bit too far away to pursue. Going to be a 3-for-2. They focus down the Drow Ranger, exactly what OpTic are supposed to do, but the Warlock unfortunately dies without getting anything off. I think that was a 2-man shackle on the south side from the Wind Ranger.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Pycat's able to have the greatest success in these fights, and the start was also a little funky for OpTic. The idea of going on the Tusk was great, but again, not being able to initially kill him, having him get that snowball off, threw off the timing from OpTic, and you can tell with CCNC, I'm not against the Requiem placement, because something you have to keep in mind is the other effects that Requiem does apply, damage reduction as well as the movement slow on top of the damage itself. So damage-wise, though, it was very, very weak, and CCNC wasn't able to deal the most overall in that fight, as he kind of found himself out of position then, and the right clicks came through for VGJ.Storm. So, but well played by them, and they're setting up for no doubt, again, wanting to do that second Roshan. You see the pings coming out already. Going to be their key.
He did dump his entire payload into that Tusk. Just maybe a little more could have gotten the kill right off the bat, could have changed things. Sneaking, get a hook shot, but with the BKB, he'll try to focus fire into Zai. He's chasing traps a little bit too far away. Now he's going to start bleeding, not where he wants to go. He does have the Wind Run active, but the rockets dropped right on top of him. They're going to leave Sneaking for dead, and eventually he's going to go down for sure, right? There he goes. They're going to trade him for the Underlord, as now with the Death Ward from the low ground, Pycat again, not really able to get in there fast enough. His movement speed is very low, and he will drop. SPG channeling still, full duration. They force the buyout on the Underlord. But that fight from Storm feels like maybe it was Zai helping them out just a little bit. Those cogs definitely not doing OpTic many favors.
On top of that, OpTic again initiating without the Shadow Fiend. CCNC was very late to get there. Trading a Wind Ranger for your Bloodseeker right now, I don't necessarily think that's what you're looking for if you're OpTic, because even with these 4 heroes, VGJ.Storm is still very deadly and could potentially take down that Roshan quickly. Now that they don't happen to be going for it, of course, with Clockwork, does have the hookshot ready and the Rocket Flare constant scouting. Understandable, they're not going for it, but they are looking for a fight with these Smoke Gangs here.
There are sentries everywhere for the Dire, but I don't think there are any real obs, so they will scan and it will be red, so they will be able to back out of there and survive. No rock for another 100 seconds. Storm, yeah, they don't have their Wind Ranger right now. They know that the Roshan is something that OpTic are keeping an eye on with those flares. But again, they take it so quickly, and I feel like with no rock from the Warlock, this is kind of just a big green light here for Storm to get to work, and look at it drop. Someone picked up a Solar Crest. Looks like that was the Witch Doctor, and this is even without the Wind Ranger here, though she is going to make an arrival once again. MSS looking to body block someone. Zai, they'll get chased out this time, deciding against. So it will be an Aegis for the Queen of Pain. She's on the Drow Ranger.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I think you could argue just the other way, if anything, but it's both those heroes definitely ones You want to make sure to have it on. Now, Drow, of course, a sheet. So Drow has cheese. Okay. Wind Ranger left without, but yeah, it makes. I was going to say with the Drow, if she dies, of course, they lose that aura buff, and that is what this team is relying on quite a bit. So maybe giving her one of those tools, and they decide to do so as a result. Yeah, Bloodseeker, though, has been... I guess this Radiance hasn't been as impactful as I figured it would be. We've seen him kind of... He gets the Ruptures off. Storm's done a good job of reacting to it, and both not really running away, not panicking, of course. They're sticking around and saying, if you're going to kill that target that has Rupture, we're going to sit here and put plenty of right clicks onto you. So I think you got to credit Storm, no doubt, in the way they're playing against this Bloodseeker right now.
It's just those few items that give them these options. Like MSS at this point, not only does he have the blink value, but also has the full Spirit Vessel. And they'll find CCNC with the Shackle. Sneaking, doesn't have the tree plate, he doesn't need it. Just fire off that arrow. Easy kills every single time, and Shadow Fiend farming really, really far away from anything relevant in the middle of the Radiant jungle. I mean, I guess you figure, hey, I have BKB, I have a Sight Device, I can get out of anything, but the immediate shot from sneaking, just can't react to it. And they now have themselves a scenario where they have hamstrung OpTic, and even though there is a chaotic offering, there's no Shadow Fiend. So how do you actually start this Bloodseeker with that movement speed? You don't really have enough burst to have that SF.
Yeah, OpTic or CCNC definitely getting a bit greedy there. Again, it's almost like a hindsight thing to say, sure, and I understand what he's thinking is that they're not looking to pick a fight right now naturally because of the cheese, because of the Aegis. You still want to get Farmer across the map, but was doing it in a pretty dark spot on the map. With that said, you see their vision very lacking right now, and it does backfire on him. So Tusk is trying to find an opening on a Clockwork, however. A little bit too slippery there, but now the Lincolns is finally finished on Wind Ranger, so these Ruptures, it's going to continue to be more and more difficult for as far as target priority from the Bloodseeker. The Drow's only core, at least, without one currently.
You got to battle your way through Lincoln Spheres, and then you have to actually get the kill through BKB, so it's like, yeah, they're Ruptured, they're not moving anywhere, but who's actually right-clicking them? It would be an SF, it would be a Bloodseeker, and that's not terrible, but of course, if you go for someone like the Wind Rangers we saw before, may have some difficulties actually finishing the kill after having used the Rupture. And of course, there's also Snowball to deal with. At this point, Storm have pretty much all the tools that they could want, and it'll enable them to walk in, take the last tier 2 tower, and now OpTic kind of hard contained in their base. And I guess that's why CCNC was down there to begin with, shoving that out, trying to give the team a little bit more space to use. But at this point, like, they leave their base, they're in a lot of trouble. Sneaking is a huge assassin, and I mean, Resolution and Yvar, they're not doing too shabby either.
I suppose we are starting to see a little bit of the decision-making of the Scythe pickup here from CCNC, and how maybe if instead he goes for that Butterfly, more damage focused middle lane, though.
They pop the Lincoln Sphere. This is going to be a Queen of Pain going down, but that's the Aegis. With the BKB afterwards, they have to disengage now. Sneaking going to come right in. Shadow Shot, no angle because of the BKB, but MSS is going to jump in. More point to beat on CCNC. They're going to focus down onto the Shadow Fiend, at least drive him onto the defensive first thing. And it looks like that'll be successful. The Rush should be off with the Resolution on the side, but he's fine. He's got the cheese just focusing onto the Underlord, and they will be able to take down 33 before he can get anything off. And that'll be the Shadow Fiend to fall shortly afterwards. Pycat found the Dry Ranger with the cheese to prevent them, and now the Cogs! Oh no, Pycat! Those are not friendly Cogs at all. Resolution going to charge straight into the Shrine. Sneaking going to do exactly the same. Frost Arrow's not doing a ton versus the Bloodseeker, but he will turn around right after Resolution one more time. CCNC going to try to turn around and 1v5 everyone. Not really sure if that's quite going to do it. No. He will lose his life. His souls were like non-existent.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an ultra kill for Resolution, and VGJ.Storm, once again, they clean house, forcing out multiple buybacks, and I'm not even sure if this buyback from the Bloodseeker is really going to do anything. If VGJ.Storm stick together, this Bloodseeker can't do much.
You know, something else that I noticed that fight, too, that's no doubt been impactful throughout is the Spirit Vessel here from Tusk. The offensive Spirit Vessel, specifically on this Bloodseeker, just was spamming it on him a couple of times throughout the fight, including when he eventually died right there with Drow, needing a couple auto attacks to finish the job. But yeah, the dieback, of course, one of the worst heroes to buy back on is Shadow Fiend, as you know, with the lack of souls, as you're even mentioning during that fight. And because the build, I go back as the point I was just making, going in the Scythe choice. It's, again, a hindsight thing to say, but how the game has played out, you probably figure at this point maybe would have preferred more of the Butterfly, more damage. That's going to be it, though. OpTic's giving in.
I still, yeah, you can't look at the Scythe Device like that. It's like, yeah, they had it, but they didn't really use it. And I think that was really the big disconnect. Part of that is because VGJ.Storm just played so well around that type of style from OpTic. They just were there to ready to reinforce. Like, in the mid lane, your Queen of Pain gets jumped immediately. Everyone is there to help out. We saw earlier, Snaking got jumped in the mid lane immediately from Storm. Everyone is there to help out. So Scythe of Vice is great unless your opponents are doing exactly that.
Yeah, that was, you know, it's one of those, it's the first game for both of these teams here, the group stages. So, of course, VGJ.Storm, they're feeling good. OpTic on the side of it, and the loss you never want to lose, of course, but it is still the first game. I reiterate that. Now, these are two teams that are some of the more favorite teams with those 3 NA spots, but VGJ.Storm, that's got to feel good for them, and OpTic will have to jump in now to the next game to play Complexity, another team that no doubt is contesting for one of those spots here. So that's going to be fun to see how this continues to play out. And we're just getting kicked off with the end of region, Mike Loris. I'm pumped for this.
Oh, yeah. It only gets better from here, and it's hard to say that because this is Storm versus OpTic. Like, how can that possibly happen? But it does.
Yeah. So the Drow strat works out. So I believe we are going to plan to go to a break here as far as our TI Hub coverage. But again, if I'm not mistaken, it will be OpTic versus Complexity that will be coming up next here on this stream. An update for you as well before we do. Team Baidu defeated Just a Squad in their first match as well. Team Baidu, one of these teams that qualified in the first qualifier, maybe surprising a lot of people. So, you know, they're off to a strong start with their victory over Just a Squad. Team Leviathan also going to be playing soon here as well. Again, we're in full swing here with NA, at least here on the mainstream. So, ladies and gentlemen, definitely sit tight. Some more coverage coming at you.